I'm actually kind of glad that I decided to break up Asta's power scale into 3 separate videos, because this seems to be the most heated topic of discussion for his power. I've seen it in both of the comments for the Deku vs. Asta death battle, and in my response to Death Battle's episode. People say that no, Asta is not light speed, so Deku is actually faster than Asta, etc. Now the basis for these debunks is that they argue that true lightning magic in Black Clover is only lightning speed because it's stated to be real lightning, therefore Black Clover is not light speed. So in today's video, I'm not only going to show you Asta's true speed, but I'm going to start off with debunking the most common refutation to Asta being light speed, or I guess anybody in Black Clover, to be light speed or faster. Now in a few days, I will be releasing my final video of my Asta scaling series, where I will delve into his abilities in that video. A few days ago, I posted an Asta power scale focused purely on his attack potency and durability, so please go check that out after this video if you haven't yet. So I'm going to start with being as charitable as possible to this very common argument that attempts to downplay the speed of Black Clover. Despite 3 statements in the series fairly early on, stating that there are characters with light speed spells or movements or attacks. So I'll go over each of the points. It typically starts off with detractors arguing that the Black Clover creator, Yuki Tabata, would have no way to understand just how fast light speed is. That it's just a truly ridiculous speed that he couldn't even fathom. No, he couldn't have just Googled or anything, right? And don't forget, it's not like Tabata ever researches for his series, ever. Like, he never researched an entire religion or mythology to put into his manga. No, he didn't do any of that. He kind of just bullshitted it, right? So there's no reason to assume that he'd research lightspeed or know what it is. They then go on to use the inclusion of true magic into the Black Clover series, specifically the case of true lightning magic. Now they use this because it's stated that true lightning magic is the real element. It's real lightning. Therefore, it's only lightning speed. So they then assume that Tabata researched the speed of lightning, a speed that is far more variable than light speed, and took the mean average. Now I wonder why Tabata only researched lightning speed in this argument, but didn't research light speed. That's kind of weird, right? Then they stated that Luck with his real lightning blitzed the 50% Dark Disciple known as Svenken, which would drastically change Black Clover's speed scaling because at the time, Svenken had light speed scaling for being stronger than his Dark Disciple comrade Gadaroi, who was a 40% Dark Disciple. Gadaroi gave even post-time skip Yuno troubles. Mind you, a much weaker Yuno from the Royal Knights tournament would already have FTL scaling in just his base form, for scaling to characters like Asta, who had faster than light speed and reaction in his base form. Which means that post-time skip Spirit Dive Yuno and Gadaroi should have been many times faster than light, and Svenken would be as well, but not if he got blitzed by lightning speed, right? Because lightning is around 1,200 times the speed of sound, whereas light is over 874,000 times the speed of sound. Well, there's an issue with this argument. Well, many issues, but let's get into the main one. You can't really limit true lightning magic to the speed of lightning in our world. That's because there's one big difference between them. In our world, lightning is a natural phenomena. In the Black Clover world, lightning is a natural phenomena that is amplified by nature's mana. Yes, true lightning creates real Black Clover lightning, but in Black Clover, lightning has nature's mana in it that severely augments its power and speed. If one bolt of natural lightning had a certain level of nature's mana, and a different one had much more, it would be much stronger and much faster. This is proven on numerous occasions, like when Gaja first activates true lightning magic, he says that humans cannot match the vast power of nature's mana, which means that his true lightning magic was augmented by nature's mana, which would severely increase its power beyond lightning speed. It's stated on several occasions that true magic is made by nature's mana, even by the Dryad, which is a tree deity that has a lot of knowledge on the series and states that true magic is nature's mana. Therefore, we cannot assume that true lightning magic is limited to lightning speed. Besides, I believe you could understand my little digs at this argument while I presented it, because it assumes that Tabata didn't research what light speed was, but did research what lightning speed was. People need to realize that Yuki Tabata's manga prior to Black Clover is called Hungry Joker, and it was a battle manga based on physics. Like, there was actual real scientists and physicists inside of it, where he mentions things like Hawking radiation, and the powers are a lot more scientifically based. So to assume he didn't look into the speed of light is silly, especially since I went to school in America, which is notorious for having an average at best education system, and I learned what light speed was in the 3rd grade. It's actually a really simple concept to understand how fast it is. I still remember the example my 3rd grade teacher used, as her intent was to show both how fast light is and how big our universe is, She said that if you could run at the speed of light, you could travel around the Earth several times in a single second, or you could travel to the moon in around a second. But to get to the closest star with light speed, you would take over 4 years. Again, I learned this in the 3rd grade when I was 9 years old in the American education system. So to assume that Tabata, who's smarter than me, had a better education system and wrote a physics-based manga and he somehow doesn't know what light speed is pretty infantilizing. One of my goals is to become an author. I've actually written several unreleased novels, their first draft. I've written some second drafts as well. Each time I write a book, I do at least some research. Like, for one of my books that I wrote, it had to do with Native American mythology in the Pacific Northwest. I read 2 educational books on the topic before writing that, based on Native American mythology that was located in the Pacific Northwest. Tabata 100% researched mythology for Black Clover, especially for Jewish mysticism within the Kabbalah. That type of research is infinitely harder than just simply Googling, what is the speed of light? But the funniest thing about this whole anti-light speed agenda is that even if you steelman their greatest argument, it actually doesn't disprove the light speed Black Clover. All it would do is shift at which point in the series that it does become light speed. Hear me out. As I said, lightning speed is around Mach 1200, while light speed is Mach 874,030. This means that light speed is 682 times faster than the average speed of lightning. Now, Luck's feat takes place at chapter 248 in the series, and Black Clover is at chapter 345 now. Black Clover has gotten a lot stronger and faster since this point. If we can prove that Black Clover got over 682 times faster in that time frame, then Black Clover is still light speed. Luckily, we know that within Black Clover's power system, if one has their magic power increased, it not only increases the potency of their attacks, but also their speed. As we saw this with many different characters who got power boosts, and we see it consistently. Marks went from a fodder support mage as a human, but his elf form was considerably stronger and faster that even Yami was impressed by it. Patry's speed increased a lot when he transformed into a dark elf, and his mana grew far greater. But we know that these speed boosts are actually causally linked to how much magic power grows. As when Zora doubles magic with his traps, it doubles the speed of it, which means that if magic power is doubled, so is its speed. This is supported by the Magna versus Dante fight, as when Magna referred to himself as a 2, and Dante as a 1000 on a power scaling chart, Magna was nothing to Dante. Dante thought of him as an insect. But when he equaled their powers to 501, they were equal on every metric of conventional stats, including speed. So we know that if somebody, say, doubles or triples their magic power, their speed would also double or triple on average, all things in a vacuum. With that in mind, let's start with this power scaling chain. Luck with his True Lightning magic was faster than the 50% Dark Disciple Svenken, but we also know that the Dark Triad in their base forms are also considerably faster and stronger than the 50% Dark Disciples, as we see Vanica also blitz and one-shot her 50% Dark Disciple, which means that she should be at least comparable in speed to Luck. Mind you that Luck went all out to create True Lightning to blitz Svenken, whereas Vanica casually blitzed her disciple without even having visible reinforcement spells. So it's safe to assume that she's actually faster than Luck, but at the very least, they'd be the same. And it is stated that all of the Dark Triad are on the same power level, so their scaling would be pretty much the same in terms of speed. But this is base Vanica. She or any of the Dark Triad can access Devil Power and multiply their power. We know that 1% Devil Power is stronger than their base power, because when Vanica went from 50% to 51%, it was stated to be a phenomenal increase in power, and we know that they likely work linearly. When Dante had his power cut in half, he reverted to his 50% Devil form. 50% is half of 100%, and 1% would be 100th of 100%, meaning that 100% Vanica has over 100 times more power than base Vanica, putting 100% Devil Power Vanica at over 100 times lightning speed in this example, or Mach 128,020, which is relativistic to the speed of light. Vanica, even at 100% power, quickly loses her status amongst the top tiers of the verse. I could include all the ways that Megicula, Lucifero, and other characters are many times faster and stronger than her, but I'll just use Asta's latest technique, Zetin. Asta in his partial Devil Union already scaled well above 100% Vanica, because his speed scales to base Lucius, who absorbed all of Lucifero's magic power and physical strength. Also, Asta's Devil Union scaled to be more than twice as strong as the individual twins, and those individual twins were equal to the 100% Dark Triad, or around their level. They were likely a bit stronger, but still. So Asta is more than twice as fast as Vanica. Asta also uses the Zetten, which is officially stated to be a 100 times multiplier, though depending on the translation, it's at least a 20 times multiplier, but if we add that, it makes Zetten Asta over 4 million times the speed of sound, which is nearly 6 times the speed of light. Keep in mind this leaves out many other power-ups in this scaling chain. I just wanted to prove that Black Clover was faster than light, as quick as possible in this video, for the sake of brevity, even if you just steel man and say that sure, true lightning magic was lightning speed when Luck used it, but now Black Clover's gotten so much stronger and faster, it's still light speed. Now let's get into Asta's actual power scale for his speed, because Black Clover is notorious for its level of speed in shonen, as light speed characters were introduced into the series as early as chapter 47. But you could argue it's even earlier with Gauche's light, but I'm going to stick with Patri's light because it does have 3 light speed statements attached to it by characters in the story. Now people don't even realize this, but there's a 4th statement in the manga. That's actually by the editor of Black Clover, and the editor of Black Clover said that Lumiere was traveling at the speed of light in the manga, as these little blurbs right here are from the editor. Unfortunately, Viz, the official translation for Black Clover, removes the editor notes. I don't know why, because it is a part of the manga and it's a direct statement from the editor of the series, who should be like the second most authoritative voice on the series. That's 3 statements in verse of Lightspeed Black Clover, and 1 by the editor of the series that Black Clover has Lightspeed characters. But of course, characters surpass Lightspeed for like even Patri. Yami said he got faster when he fought him, which would mean he's faster than light. So Lightspeed is certainly a thing in Black Clover, but it actually gets surpassed, as the more mana a mage has, the faster they get, as I've already explained. As even when Patri turned into a Dark Elf, his magic grew faster. This is pretty consistent for any character in the verse. As I said, if somebody gets 2 to 3 times stronger, they're 2 to 3 times faster as well. I've already gone over it, you already know it. And there's a calculation done by Epsilon on the Versus Battle wiki that calcs Mereoleona moving faster than light magic to be over 15 times the speed of light. This is pretty early in the series too, like 200 chapters ago. Well, base Asta is actually faster than Mereoleona, as he blitzes past her spell to save Raya from his own destruction. When Asta goes black for him, his stats increase considerably and make him a lot faster. So Black Asta scales well above 15 times the speed of light. Magna, a character often seen as a weakling in the series, actually surpasses Black Asta for a brief period of time during the middle of the 6-month time skip. As Black Asta got folded by this spider, Leopold did well against that spider, and Leopold then got stronger, and then fought these magic golems, and struggled against them in both power and speed. But Magna could nearly blitz one of these golems and one-shot them. So that Magna right there scales above Black Asta. After this, Magna gets a magic power boost of 25 times, as he gets the Manic Mana state once more. You may remember this state from when Luck and Magna tried to find a cure for Asta's arms in the dungeon. They return with this weird Manic Mana state that increased their power considerably. While they lose this state, it's actually stated in the light novel that they kept the strength that they gained, that form just left. And it's also stated to be a 25 times power increase in the light novel, which means that Magna got a 25 times amp on top of being stronger than a version of Black Asta. Magna got a 25 times amp on top of that 15 times light speed, putting his speed at 375 times the speed of light. This is important for Asta's speed scaling because in the Spade Saga, Magna is compared to be 500 times weaker than 100% Devil Power Dante, which means that Dante is 500 times faster than Magna, putting 100% Dante at over 187,500 times the speed of light in combat speed. Asta, even early into the second half of the Spade Saga, is above this speed in Devil Union because he was able to keep up with Fusion Lilith, who is more than twice as fast as the base twins, which means that this version of Devil Union Asta is over 375,000 times the speed of light, as he'd be more than twice as fast as 100% Dante. Remember, Megicula is over 100 times stronger than Dante. I covered this in my Asta power scale, discussing how strong he was. Megicula used a fraction of her power to make 100 Devil Disciples, each of them stronger than 100% Dante, and she's weaker and slower than Lucifero at his weakest states, and then Lucifero eventually more than doubles his power to counter Zora's doubling trap. This puts 50% Lucifero at over 37,500,000 times the speed of light in the Spade Saga. Lucius absorbed all of Lucifero's power, which would be more than quadrupling it, and the reason for it being quadrupled because Lucifero had insane levels of not only magic power, but physical strength. He only had half of each in the Spade Saga, which means any physical attack or movement that is reinforced by magic would be quadrupled. Something like spells or pure magical attacks would only be doubled though. It's only the physical plus magical attacks that are quadrupled. This would get Lucius at over 150 million times the speed of light, and Asta certainly scales to the speed of Lucius, as he had a whole pitched battle with Lucius and even landed hits on him, so yeah, he definitely scales to him in speed. Asta has gotten a lot stronger though since he fought Lucius, with the majority of that power coming from Zetten. I discussed the translation earlier, so I'll give a range of what it is. It either means tens of times, which would be a low ball of a 20 times multiplier, or 100 times, which makes Asta's speed 3 to 15 billion times the speed of light. That's billion with a B. Absolutely insane, right? Now I already know that people are going to try and argue that Asta's speed wouldn't be multiplied by Zetten, but it would. Zetten is stated to be an explosion of Yoryoku. Yoryoku means magic power. This means that while Zetten is active, Asta and any of his attacks are amplified 20 to 100-fold. So yeah, it's actually insane that despite scaling shorthand, leaving out other feats and multipliers to keep this video manageable, gets Asta this high in speed, which is actually not the idea that Death Battle gives off in their episode, as they just say that he's far faster than light and they leave it at that. Just like in the last video, there are higher end metas to scale Asta's speed. I personally don't use these, just like I don't really use the attack potency, like the higher end for those. But like I said, one more feat or statement in these tiers would make these levels of scaling them more accepted metas. Funny enough, it's pretty much the same exact feats that are used. Yami destroying Dorothy's Glamour World. Glamour World is shown to have many stars in its skies, which would make it a multi-solar system sized realm. Yami destroys it instantaneously. If we assume it took around a second, it would have to be trillions of times the speed of light, if not more. This is because if we go by how star systems are typically spread out, the nearest star to us is Alpha Centauri at over 4 light years away. It would take the speed of nearly 150 million times the speed of light to reach that in a single second. Mind you, that's one star. Here, there are literally hundreds of stars in Glamour World, with many of them likely being far further away than just 4 light years. That's how you get like to the trillions as a low ball. It's likely even higher. And then that's just a mid-time skip Yami's attack. He's way stronger, and Asta's way stronger and faster than that. Now, Dorothy actually reacted to this Dimension Slash, and she's not even close to the fastest character. 80% Devil Power Morris was able to tag her, and 80% Devil Morris is somebody that Asta would have surpassed in speed in his base form, let alone Devil Union or the Zetten multiplier stacked on top of that. Though Dorothy's Glamour World is stated to be endless in size. Now, it's a whole debate whether it really is endless or infinite, but Manga said it was impossible for it to be infinite, with Reeve responding, here in Glamour World, the impossible is possible, essentially claiming that it really is endless or infinite. I'll probably have to make an entire argument on Universal Dorothy in the future because there's actually a lot of nuance to it, and more support for it than you'd think. I couldn't really fully cover it in the video for the attack potency, but there's more to it than I said, but it's still just not the fully supported meta. But Yami destroyed that possibly or even likely infinite sized Glamour World in finite time, which would give his Dimension Slash infinite speed. Remember, Dorothy reacted to that Dimension Slash, which would then give her, and anyone who scales to her, infinite speed as well. I've already shown that Asta scales above that version of Dorothy by scaling him above 80% Morris. So yeah, a high-end meta for Asta is that he's many times faster than infinite speed, which is crazy. That really brings me to the end of Asta's scaling for his speed. I think a lot of it is faster than you think. Please leave a like if you did enjoy. Now, keep in mind the video on Asta's abilities will be coming out in a few days after this as well. Thank you guys so much for the support. You can join my Discord, follow me on Twitter down below, and thanks for the support. Peace out.